I'm a local loan officer in West Palm Beach, Florida. I've been in the mortgage industry for the last 8 years. I've worked in the industry throughout the country. I've closed over 1,000 loans during my career, so I've seen it all. I'm on a mission to make mortgages both entertaining and educational. Welcome to Lending with Leah. This is the podcast for anyone thinking about potentially owning, in the process of buying, or even owns their own home.
Tremendous.
It's spectacular. So today with me, I have a special guest. So welcome, Jesse Mutarelli.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate being here.
Absolutely. And you came from far away.
I did. So we're currently recording this episode in West Palm Beach. I reside in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, about an hour north of Philadelphia.
So it's cold as shit.
It is legit. I take every single opportunity to fly down here because I despise the cold more and more as I get older.
Well, welcome to sunny Florida. We're happy to have you here. And yeah, just thanks for coming all the way here. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. I'm actually excited too because I feel like being down here, my water intake has doubled, and that's only like I feel like I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life.
You should be here during the summer. If you think your water intake doubled during the winter, come down during the summer.
Yeah, right. It just, whatever. I love this place.
Me too. Everyone knows at this point, because I've talked about like my transition through life and in the mortgage industry. And I went from Arizona to North Carolina to Florida, and this is it. Yeah. This is where I want to be.
Mm-hmm. This is, I'm trying to kind of expand my base of operations from Pennsylvania as a lender to South Florida. I'm looking, I'm partnering with agents in like the Miami-Dade area, looking at, Brickell, Doral, things like that. I just, if I never have to shovel snow again, I'll be like the happiest guy ever.
I believe it. I did my first semester of college ever. I did at Northern Arizona University. Okay. And the first day I was late to work because there was ice frozen over on my windshield, and I didn't have an ice scraper. So I literally had my credit card, and I'm picking the ice. I was like, I'm done.
Listen, we call that the driver's license trick up north. You just...
It's terrible. Yeah. Oh.
This is why remote start is so popular, in the northern states. Like I'm spoiled. I'll never buy a car without a remote start.
And you will want that down here too, but for the AC.
For the AC, right?
Yeah, because you'll get in your car and it'll be blazing hot.
I don't know. I don't. Heat doesn't bother me. Like I'm the guy that'll ride around with all four windows down and just kind of let that breeze come through, like Bo and Luke Duke. I'm like an old school Dukes of Hazzard guy. I don't need AC.
I love it. Well, and Jesse, I want you to tell everyone a little bit more about yourself. What do you do? What are some of your hobbies and passions, or just some fun facts about Jesse?
All right. So, I just finished up my third year in mortgage lending.
Wait.
There it is. See? Oh my God. Live studio audience. Hey guys. Prior to that, I worked for a major shipping company as a courier, driving around delivering packages and stuff, not Amazon.
Side notes.
Yeah, just and then prior to that, 20 years in the restaurant business.
Really?
Yeah.
That I didn't know. We've talked a little bit, so I knew a little bit, but I didn't know that you were in the restaurant business.
Yeah, I mean, every position from prep cook to lead bartender to manager, I kind of ran the gamut of everything. And I kind of stumbled into this business. I feel like we all kind of stumble into this business somehow. We just kind of discover it along the way of whatever we're doing in life. And, once you're in it and you really, you see things like first-time home buyers and things like that you can help that are obviously very nervous. Like it's a huge purchase. So like, when you can go through and make that person comfortable and knowledgeable about everything and see the smile on their face, especially if they have kids. Not that it doesn't, but just, it on the other side of the screens and stuff that we have, I feel like a lot of it is sometimes lost with certain folks. Like, it's just transactional. And to me, like, I'll never do that. Like, the best part of my job is helping people that need houses.
Absolutely. And I feel like everyone needs shelter, right? Whether that's a house, an apartment, a condo, whatever type of property you're getting, everyone needs some sort of shelter. And that's a basic human need. But to be able to, I think, turn that need into like an investment for someone too is huge. Because when you go from renting to owning, now your shelter becomes an investment. Right.
Now you're actually having, you own an asset that's going to grow in value.
Absolutely.
Historically, and again, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm almost positive it's like 4 to 5% year over year equity growth on average. So, I mean, show me an investment on Wall Street or something that'll consistently give you 4 to 5% growth. I'll dump all my money in it, but it's not really a thing.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So.
I've mentioned before a couple times on this show, but homeowners have 40 times more wealth than renters. And it's still the number one and fastest way to wealth creation is through home ownership and equity building.
Yeah, I mean, you're earning money by not doing anything. Like, you own a house, you make your payments, but as not only is your loan getting smaller with each payment you make, but then on the flip side, like I said, you're growing equity as it is. So you're almost growing equity, not quite at a double rate, but you know what I mean? Like it's more than the 4 to 5%, because if you take into account loan to value, maybe tack that on, like it just, home ownership is wonderful, not just because we need a place to live, but because the reality is, like, aside from 2008, there really hasn't been a safer investment than real estate.
Yeah. And even I read this the other day and did look into it a little bit more to verify the fact, because we can't take everything at face value.
Facts. What?
Oh my, right?
Sheesh.
But if you look at, because now an official recession has not been called yet for the U.S., but there's a lot of indicators out there for it. And a lot of people associate recession with the housing crash that happened in 2008.
Right.
But actually, if you look at the past, I want to say it's the past 9 recessions in U.S. history, housing either stayed stable or increased, got more expensive during recessionary periods. 2008's the only one where housing declined.
And again, there's a great reason for that, and it's very simple. It's not the sensationalist like stuff the media, like they'll even tell you now, ooh, there's a housing bubble. There's not a housing bubble. If you look at the differences between 2008 and now, right? At 2008, there were so many more houses and houses being built, but there weren't enough buyers. So at that point, property values kind of fell a lot. Because just like anything, it's supply and demand. So, if everybody had a diamond, diamonds wouldn't be as valuable. Now it's much more balanced. And the reality is, why was inventory so high then? It was because lenders, not me, not Leah.
Yeah. I was in junior high back in 2008.
2008, gosh. I don't remember, so I must have been making some really good decisions. No, it was a lot of shady lending, a lot of NINA loans, which stand for no income, no asset. So basically, you're like, hey, I have an 800 credit score, and I want a $6 million house, and I would be like, sounds good to me. Here you go.
Absolutely.
When those loans were being sold on the secondary market, they knew it was junk. So then Wall Street knew it was junk. And then they sold it to everyday people that were investing in Wall Street. Well, when everything crashed, which is why we have all these regulations in place, Graham Leach Bliley, stuff like that, to kind of never let that happen again.
Exactly. And I actually, while we were talking, it literally just popped into my mind. So timing wise, right? Like in '08, well, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 31. That's the average age for a first-time home buyer. Now, I'm 28 now. Back in '08, I was in junior high. So, like, I watched my parents go through the '08 crash. I watched my dad lose his home. I watched my dad lose his job. I watched my stepmom lose her job. It was tough. And so witnessing that, now I'm at that age and that in that generation where now this is the generation of first-time home buyers.
Right.
Is people who were kids during the '08 crash. So I'm curious, and I don't know the statistics on this or anything like it, just popped into my mind. But I'm wondering how that event is affecting first-time home buyers today, with having that as your witness, as your home buying thing that gets stuck in your mind as a child, how that might be affecting people who are now at the age that they're first-time home buyers.
That's actually a great point. I never really like put the two and two together. I would say that it's a different era. Like, yes, there's a lot of bad information out there, but there's a lot of good information. The thing is, there's a lot of information. It's not this like cloak and dagger thing that it used to be. Like, there's regulations in place, there's disclosures that have to happen. Like,
Absolutely.
we have to make buyers aware of anything, as you know, right? Say I need to do a 1-day rate lock extension, right? Because for whatever reason, we need an extra day to close, or, it closed, but like we hoped it would close, or whatever it is.
Exactly.
1-day rate lock extension, I can request it immediately. I have to send what's called a change of circumstance to the borrower, showing them, and they have to sign it. Hey, this is what we did. Every single step along the way, we make the home buyer aware of what's happening. So it's not this whole, well, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. Like, it's, in addition to disclosures, like we talked about earlier, your loan officer is a big part of that. Like, your loan officer should be walking you through absolutely everything. But I think in this day and age, we have a lot more access to information, and it's so recent and so fresh. I think if nothing, it helped the younger generation to not overextend, to not say, well, I would love this house here. However, it's like X number of dollars, which is a big chunk of my paycheck, but I really, really want it, so I'm just going to get it.
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, people are so more cognizant of kind of saving money, preparing for the future. You never know what'll happen. And again, that falls on your loan officer to kind of, check you a little bit, for lack of a better term. Like, I know you want this house. The reality is it's going to take 90% of your income. So it's just not, it's not feasible. Right.
I mean, I did that actually today. Before we came to this episode, I had an intake call with a first-time home buyer. She's not ready to buy now, but she goes, it's my dream to own a home. I want to do it soon. I need to know, how do I get prepared to get there? And so we went through all of it, right? The credit, the income, the asset pieces to getting a loan, and approximately, hey, if you want this price point home in this area, we need to be making it probably about this much, and you got to look at your debt load. And she's like, awesome. Like, I got it. I got a game plan. And I think that is something I've been seeing a lot with first-time home buyers is they want the information and they want to get set up on a game plan, and they want to be strategic about it, and they want to be smart about it.
So I'm going to pull a really obscure reference out.
Okay. I'm ready.
Let's make the podcast weird. So the movie Boogie Nights, right? When Don Cheadle and his wife at the time, he wants to open Buck's Super Stereo World. So he goes into the bank, and it's like, the banker with the big columns and the bow tie, and he just frowns and looks down on him. That's the way it used to be. Like, you had to like beg, crawl, hands and knees, please, Mr. Bank Guy, give me a loan. It's just so different now. it's like I said, to go back to it, that there's not that cloak and dagger of well, I'm just going to do it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're lucky I'm even talking to you. It's just, it's so different now, and it's awesome. Because again, I do believe, especially in finance, like if you don't have regulations and you don't have, greed's going to run wild, and it showed it in '08. So I think it requires us to be, and we should be as human beings, more like people friendly. Like,
absolutely.
I'm not trying to rip you off. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to screw you over. Like, for me, I want to help you because A, it makes me feel good. B, it's my job. C, if I treat you the way you deserve to be treated, especially as a first-time home buyer who's probably freaking out even at the prospect of owning a home, you're going to remember that, and then you're going to refer friends and family, and frankly, that's kind of what the business is built on.
Absolutely. And we've spent a lot of time mentioning first-time home buyers because that's specifically what we're talking about in this episode. This episode is for our first-time home buyers.
Right.
And so in your opinion, what do you think a loan officer should be doing with a first-time home buyer that's different from a secondary buyer, someone who's bought before in the past, an investor? Like, what makes a first-time home buyer different, and what do you do as a loan officer?
So the scariest things in life are things we haven't experienced.
Agreed.
So
wait.
Awesome.
Scary.
Awesome. When you talk to somebody who's been through the home buying process, maybe they had a good experience, maybe they didn't, but at least they have a feel for it. So they're going to know, okay, after 2008, we need 30 days pay stubs, 60 days account statements, W-2s, credit report, copy your ID, like that sort of thing. And they're like, okay, I already know that. Like, I have an accountant, he'll just email that to you. Okay, great. Your first time home buyer's never been through the process. So to them, it's walking into a pitch black room and hoping for the best. And our job is to turn on that flashlight.
Absolutely.
So first-time home buyers generally require more care. And
I would agree.
More, I don't mean it negatively, but kids' gloves.
Or like hand-holding.
Right.
That's kind of the term I would use.
Yeah, perfect. They don't know. Like, legitimately, I spoke with a guy on the way here looking in the Miami area. And he's like, I'm a first-time home buyer. I never bought before. Can you kind of walk me through the process? Yes, I would love to do that. Once you walk them through, it's almost like a sense of relief. And they're like, oh, that's like it? So for, again, not to be whatever, stronger loan officers like me and you.
Absolutely.
We'll tell them up front, hey, get us all our docs up front. We're going to look and see, go through your app, kind of any pitfalls. I'll touch base with you, kind of, if I have any questions, whatever. Once all that's done, we do all our verifications. I mean, for the most part, if we need a document, send it to us, kick back and relax. Our job is now to take it from here.
Exactly. And that's what I tell my clients too in the beginning when we're kind of having that initial conversation is I tell them, I said, look, I go, you don't know this yet because you haven't gone through it. But once you go under contract for a home, you have to put a deposit down. And if something goes wrong, you don't always get that money back.
Right.
So my job as your loan officer is to make sure I'm doing my due diligence up front to potentially catch any hurdles in the beginning, because I'm here to protect you and your money at the same time. And
go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
I was just going to say, and I can only do that by doing the proper work up front.
Right. And that's the difference between a good loan officer and a bad loan officer. A bad loan officer, there are internet lenders that...
we won't name names.
Nope.
You know who you are, though.
Lending with Lee is not getting sued today.
Yep.
So there are a lot of internet lenders and stuff like that that'll yes you to death and throw you a pre-approval and be like, yeah, man, you're good, like go get them. Mm-hmm. Well, you go under contract, 2 weeks into it, they're like, oh, hey, like your debt to income is, you can't qualify. Well, why don't you know that up front? Like I think there's two types of loan officers. There's transactional. Mm-hmm. And then there's people like us that actually take the time and care and walk people through it. The reality is a transactional loan officer is going to have to, they're going to have to do 3-4 times the loan applications we will, because our pre-approvals are what they call sticky, right?
Yeah.
Our pre-approvals are as good as, they can be at that time because we've done our due diligence then. Absolutely.
And I think that's so important, especially for any client out there, but especially for first-time home buyers. I don't know about you. Well, I know you feel the same way I do, but we want our first-time home buyers to just love it.
Yeah.
Right? That they go through the process and they're like, wow, all my friends told me, it was going to be a nightmare, but you made it so easy. Like, that's what we want.
And if you're good at your job and you love your job and you love what you do, it's no extra step to make the process awesome. Mm-hmm. Because the reality is, there's some difficult ones. I closed one yesterday, finally, that, we went from VA to...
Yay!
Like, I always picture, like, Kermit the Frog, like... it was tough. We had to go. We started as a VA, ended up finishing with USDA. There was just a lot of, we did it, though, and we closed. And this dude and his wife and his 5 kids are in the house now, right? And not for nothing, I know 95% of lenders would have been like, well, man, we tried. Sorry. Mm-hmm. And this dude would have lost. And listen, $1,000 deposit might not seem like a lot to some people. To some people, that's the difference between the lights being on, having food, that
it's
kind
everything.
Of thing. So, I just think whether you're buying a $200,000 house, an $80,000 house, or a $5 million house, everybody gets treated the same.
I agree. Everyone deserves 5-star gold standard treatment.
And it shouldn't be any extra to just do that. Like I said, like I get really, it kind of pisses me off a little bit. Like I took over a team in Schuylkill County. Mm-hmm. What's up, Justin?
Shout out.
And, he had let me know his previous lender, was like yelling at clients and stuff. And it's like, he's been in the business for 30 years, like that kind of thing, some legacy lender. Right. But people don't know that's not the norm.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, I must have messed up. That's why he's yelling at me. Like, it just, the horror stories you hear, it's tough. You can regulate, your license and that kind of thing, but you can't regulate or legislate, ethics, and you can't
how to
really
treat someone.
Right. The way to treat somebody.
Absolutely.
The guy's just as licensed as I am, but I yell a lot less.
It's a good thing. We don't need to stress our buyers out even more.
No, definitely not. Like, especially like we're talking about first-time home buyers, dude, the last thing they need is somebody beating them up and down the chain. If we have to go a little out of our way, or our teams, like, my loan partner, Anna, or Kelly for you, like, hey, look, we got to kids glove this person. Like, let's just, whatever they need, let's kind of go the extra mile. A lot of my folks, in PA, more blue collar, salt of the earth. Not everybody has a scanner at home. Well, how do we get our PDF docs? Well, you know what? Staples, actually, if you just take them there and have them email them to me, it's like pennies. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Did you know, too? I don't know about Androids or Samsungs, but iPhones, you can actually, on your Notes app on the iPhone, if you press the camera button, there's a scanner. Yeah. And you could take pictures of your documents like you do with your camera, but it'll actually convert them to PDF documents. So you can email them straight from that app to your loan officer.
And a lot that there's different apps and stuff like that, but Android, iPhone now, it's kind of almost included. but we do not want business tax returns sent individual pages at a time.
Please don't do that.
Go to Staples. Just go to Staples, pay the $1, and I'll cash app you the $1 just to do that. Like, I'll give you $5 just for the effort.
Curtis, like, please. Help make your loan officer's life easier by not sending individual pages if you can.
But I mean, other than that, like, yeah, like if it's a W-2 or something, snap a picture, it'll, convert to PDF, send it that way.
Send it right away.
Yeah.
And I think too, one of the other things, in my opinion, that makes a loan officer really good at working with first-time homebuyers specifically is a loan officer that knows and understands the first-time homebuyer loan products.
Sure.
Because let's face it, there's a ton of different products out there that are specifically only for first-time homebuyers.
I get one of the biggest questions I get is, I'm a first-time home buyer, what can I get? Like, and they don't mean that in a gimme way. It's more like, I don't know. So, like, for example, obviously there's income limits, that sort of thing, but Fannie Mae's Home Ready is wonderful. If you're a conventional borrower, it allows you to only put 3% down, but the best part, you get such a break on rate.
And mortgage insurance.
Oh, yeah, mortgage insurance, big time.
Both.
So, I mean, just by being able to qualify for that, which is literally, one of the easier things to do, as long as you fall under income limits and stuff like that, I mean, you could save yourself without even knowing it just by being in a program like that, hundreds of dollars on your mortgage payment a month.
Absolutely.
So if your loan officer isn't walking you through stuff like that, or even if you're like, hey, I heard about this. Well, you know what, in looking at your application, we can't do that, but here's why. The greatest tool we have, Zoom is free.
Yeah.
Zoom is free. If you can Zoom somebody and show them exactly what you're looking at, there's no doubt about anything, because this is what we're looking at. This is why we can do this and why we can't do that.
Absolutely. And sometimes too, like I've told people, because here in Florida we have a lot of first-time homebuyer down payment assistance programs too. I get asked about those all the time, and usually what I tell my first-time homebuyers is, I'm like, there's tons of them out there. We got to see what you're qualified for first. Then we go through, we pick the best one. But also, sometimes the best terms or the best product isn't one that has down payment assistance.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's a traditional mortgage as well.
Well, because sometimes down payment assistance or closing cost assistance comes in the form of a second loan, which is fine. That's okay, because eventually down the road, you're going to refinance all that into one anyway. Time it when the rate's right, refinance the whole thing. Now you're not making that, extra payment, and you still have the house you love. Like, I hate cliche things like buy the house, date the rate. Like, it just
so overplayed.
It makes my skin crawl. But the theory behind it is exactly right. Get the asset. This is not something where I bought a pair of Jordans and they're going to appreciate in value. Get the asset. You are financing. It might be a 30-year loan. You can always refinance.
Absolutely. But if the home prices increase, you can't go back on that.
Nope, absolutely not.
But rates do this. If you're listening, my hand's going up and down. If you're watching, you can see.
It's like a ski slope, like up and down.
Exactly. So it's, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's just important to have a loan officer that knows and understands a variety of products, who's patient, who can handhold and explain and make a first-time home buyer just feel safe and at home and secure in the loan choice that they end up going with.
For first-time home buyers, I will say this. One of the great tells if you're working with a good loan officer or not, if you call, they answer. If they don't answer, or they push you off to an assistant and refuse to take your calls, run.
Yeah.
Because clearly they don't care about you, they don't value you.
I agree with that.
Because if I'm calling you and you continually duck my calls, whether it's a pre-approval stage or maybe there's a bump in the road with the loan, if you're not answering your phone, like, I can't trust you.
Yeah, I agree. Even I always have said, even if there's not another update, you still pick up the phone. Hey, I know you're calling for an update. There's no update. Right. That's your update. That is better than...
Or even be proactive. You know, with this one that I just closed, like, there were calls and there were emails, and sometimes it was like, look, guys, we're still waiting on USDA. We're still waiting on this. I hope we get it. You know, we put a request out to kind of get an answer, but right now we're still in a holding pattern. As soon as something comes up, I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
And if nothing comes up the next day, hey guys, look, you know, we checked in again, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes, you know, not every loan's going to be super smooth, but if you can't answer your phone when things are rough, you should not be in this business. I
agree. And to end the show on that note, Jesse and I always answer our phones.
Always answer the phone.
And not just phone calls and texts, but also where you can find us. You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon. Lending with Leah. I make it easy for you guys. Feel free. I do answer DMs as well. So you can always DM me. And Jesse, where can everyone find you?
I was going to make a comment about that doesn't give you the right. Do not slide into her DMs. Yes. Only mortgage stuff.
Mortgage related question
That's
DMs.
That's it, dude.
Only.
No pictures. I don't care what they are of. I don't care if it's a picture of a cat.
Terrible.
Don't DM the cat.
I mean, if it's a cat, I have cats.
All right. I'm in on cats.
Cats or mortgage related questions.
And me, I'm Jesse Mutarelli. The Mutarelli team at Move with Jesse, JESSE, no I, no Y, .com. My loan partner Anna and I, we're more than happy to help. I'm also on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I do not have this yet, maybe someday in the future, but trying to establish an ad business in Florida is kind of taking up my time now, because I can't not give my Pennsylvania, New Jersey folks, you know, I'm not going to sacrifice them
Absolutely.
to move somewhere else. To me, it's growth. It's not
trading one for the other.
Right. Because at that, you know, I love my Pennsylvania people, and they're tremendous, and I hope to continue helping them until I retire on a boat.
I love that.
In like 30 years.
Maybe sooner. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for episode 13, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks.